What's up, guys? It's Steve with the Ultimate Pickup Artist Convention, and today I've got Elizabeth Everett with me.
Hello.
Elizabeth, why don't you tell the guys a little bit about who you are, how you got into this whole thing, and kind of, I guess, your background.
Okay. My name's Elizabeth Everett. I have been involved with the community for approximately 6 years now. I've worked with over 11 different companies. I just won Best Female Coach of 2012 from two separate areas of the industry, which is awesome. I have been allowed to see what a lot of different people are doing, see the good stuff, the bad stuff, the ugly stuff, you know. It's really been a fascinating journey as a female. And in my background, the reason why I got involved into this world is because I found growing up to be extremely overwhelming. In neurolinguistic programming, there's a whole idea or a concept that people, as they grow up, they learn to filter things. They delete, they distort, they generalize. Whereas for some reason, with my whatever circuitry that I had, I went through life with less of a filter. So I would be overwhelmed all the time. I'd end up being in groups of people and it would cause me to be extremely uncomfortable because I would start picking up all this stuff and all this information, which really, scared me. And so I had this, it was a gift, it was a talent, but in the beginning for me, it was a curse. I now know that what that is being a hyper empath. But the weirdest experience for me is that I'd be with people and they'd be telling me one thing, but then it would be incongruent to all the other things that I would be downloading about them in that moment, through their tells, through their tiny, the body language that they'd be sending out, all kinds of different cues on many different levels. And so in the beginning, for me, that caused me to be a wallflower. I was extremely shy, and then I deliberately had to solve this issue. So I went around the planet looking into places, secrets, anomalies on an obsessional level of finding out how can I harness and how can I learn to control this, to handle it. And for me, it was the path of learning to make what originally was a detriment or a curse and how to eventually turn that into a talent. And now, being involved in the pickup world, I find that there are many men and some women as well who are also on that similar road. So I have found that a lot of the information that I've gleaned along the way, I can actually offer to other people. And the world of attraction is definitely, it's something that I've been fascinated with my whole life, in the sense that I love studying mentalism, social dynamics, psyops, COINTELPRO, brainwashing, cults. I mean, everything, anything that the general public doesn't know about, I want to know about. And what that then means for my clientele is that I have certain secrets that I can pass along to them.
Okay, so give me an example of all the stuff you studied, the way you were before. Give me an example of how that would help, like a typical guy who's maybe either shy with women or hasn't approached women or is not really successful with women.
Well, there are certain ways of looking at who they are at the core of their being, which is very different than, I think you actually said it in another interview, and I really liked what you said about, older game used to be a lot about creating a mask.
Right.
Versus becoming actually a good guy. And for me, what I have cultivated my whole life is learning how to bring forward what is within us. And not only to have a look at it, but to cultivate what works, but to clean out what doesn't work. Okay. So my quest is to get the shy guys in front of me and do a little bit of, archaeological digging, and to look into their psychology and be like, okay, let's look at this original trauma or pain or this loneliness that you're operating out of, and how are you then manifesting that when you go out to meet women? And when we learn about that, we can help them grow in a less crooked way, that they start to become the kind of man that the women are really hoping for, that we're waiting for, Gotcha. And sometimes these guys just need just a little bit of tweaking. It's about finding the right domino per se, to click over, and then everything changes. You know, often it's a little bit of a reframe. And then suddenly they go, oh my God, I never thought about it that way.
Right.
You know? So it's really about, for me, being a detective and being like, okay, so what is it about this particular person in front of me that causes them to be stunted? And how can we undo that and shift that and change it? You know, there's this whole story about the idea of when elephants are being trained in the circus, they're actually chained on their feet, right?
Story,
You know, and they can't move very far. Eventually, eventually a few years later, the chains come off, but the elephant never tries to escape. Right? So it's really about finding, where is it that these people are being kept from being their full selves, their kingship? How do we wake them up into their kingship?
Gotcha.
No.
Okay. Yeah, because honestly, when I first heard about you, I was like, well, let's be straight. You were dated mystery for a while, right? I thought, okay, this is a girl that's going to teach the same stuff that we've heard before.
Hello.
She's learned it from mystery, and now she's going to go on her own. And But then I sat down, and honestly, my body language was like, okay, all right, let me listen to this chick, see what she's got to say. And then there was like, people talk about this lean forward moment. You started talking about some other stuff about resonating. What was that you talked about earlier? If you...
Cymatics?
No, there was something if you...
About how people will often give off lies within being congruent with what it is that they're telling you.
Not so much, but if you're some certain thing, you bring a certain woman in your life.
Oh, if you act like an incubus, you'll bring in a succubus.
Describe that. What does that mean?
Okay, see, here's the thing. How you are and how you show up in the world absolutely matters to then what will come back. This reality, this holodeck, is like one big mirror.
Right.
So if you go around in a vampiric sort of way, where you're manipulating and conniving and doing all this sort of, sneaky stuff, well, guess what? I always say karma's only a bitch if you are, and the wrong kind of women will show, and they'll be all sparkly and, woohoo, but they're gonna know your exact triggers about how to hook you in. And in many ways, and this is where I get all kind of hippie, this is the divine feminine coming in to protect the rest of her women, the rest of her queens. If you're going to act a certain way, well, she'll bring you one of her, one of her beasts, right? So the thing is that here's the real quest of game, right? At the lower levels of game, and I really fully believe that guys do have to go through this process of learning some of the lower levels, and some of it's awesome for guys, but eventually there comes a time where they go, whoa, they start to sniff that there are higher levels. And what works at the lower levels won't work at the higher levels. In fact, you will lose your red queen if you do what you did at the lower levels. At the lower levels, women are seen as targets, something to be objectified, like a pit boss, and it's going to fill that never-ending black hole of, self-seeking validation that never disappears, right? It's like a skipping record. And eventually the men who are ready to go higher say, okay, there must be something more than this.
Right.
Now see, at the higher levels of the gameplay, we're not your targets. We're not your pit bosses. We're actually your allies.
Right.
We are meant to play the game next to you, side by side. We are your beloveds to be cherished, honored, protected. And the thing is that then what a surprise, what a concept. We get to play the real game that actually matters, which is a truly authentic, awesome, magical, intimate life.
Yeah. I think what you've been talking about is key, because I think about, I don't know what percentage it is, but I think it's like 90, a majority of percentage of the guys get in this to find a good girl.
Yeah.
So if they get in it trying to find a good girl and they learn all the mask stuff, all the bullshit, all the stuff that's not really going to work.
Yes.
And they're just on a path that's not going to get them where they want to be.
Yeah. You see, and that's the danger of all of this, is that there comes a time where they realize, wow, I learned the rules, now I have to break them. And that is a key point in a man's life. The sadness is that some of these people And some of these people that I know and that I care about have gotten stuck. They've gotten caught in the cobweb of all of this stuff, and it ends up owning them. They end up, forgive me, but they end up becoming its bitch. The whole secret point of all of this is to eventually go, whoa, I don't need this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
This stuff is training wheels. It's really awesome to go through. It's important to go through. It seems to be like a rite of passage, especially for men. For some women, but men especially. And then eventually they say, you know what? Who I am as a man, like, I'm enough. I can trust on fresh mana coming from the present moment that I don't have to worry about, oh, what do I do here? And they're so out of the present moment because they're so worried about, their chess game that's going on that they're actually not really with us. And the women of value can tell.
Can read it.
And then there's a difference between, your eyes being glazed over because you're so worried about pleasing us. I mean, do you get that the whole primary point of game is to like supplicate and perform for a woman? Do you know how emasculating that is? Like, that's the sad little secret about all this. That's not sexy. Not to the ones that you want, to the ones you don't want. That might be cool, but no, eventually you realize that, wow, a bunch of robots manipulating each other. Ugh.
So give us an idea, like, what are you going to bring to the convention? What do you think you're going to teach?
Well, there's a couple layers to answer with that. There is a lot of kleptoparasitism within this community. It's really quite rampant. I'd say anyone who's been involved in this world long enough has a lot of people borrowing their information, or taking it and kind of doing something with it. There are many, many clones of clones of clones, basically rehashing the same stuff over and over and over again. Whereas there are some really amazing teachers as well who are always bringing something fresh. I am intending to do that. One of the things that I am working on right now is looking at the place that people start from. And if they're moving from a place, an origination point of pain, of seeking to make an enemy, per se, of the present moment, if they act from that place, they are going out into the world as a victim. That's not attractive, right?
Wow, yeah.
To women, we sense that on you. Whereas if we can heal that right there origination point of how you act, like, are you able to be comfortable in your own skin? Are you actually able to be alone? See, here's the thing. It's about looking into what it means to have self-love. Because let me tell you, when you're whole, when you've dealt with your shadow, when you can actually sit in the discomfort, that's a man.
Yeah.
That's an alpha.
Right.
The fact that you've conquered that fear, hello, hi, my name's Elizabeth. Right? So I really want to look into what do we do? How do we work with that so that you can become comfortable with that origination point?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's mostly going to be inner.
Look, I can teach you game.
Yeah.
So can everyone else. At this point, so can everyone else. I specialize because I've got a lifetime of work in this, and I've lived it. I specialize in inner game, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I thank you for sitting down with me. And so if you'd like to sign up for the Ultimate Pickup Artist Convention, go to upuac.com or click the link in the description box of this video. And I will talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.